Can you hear me? Okay. Welcome to the Leeds International Comic Art Festival. I'm Sean Phillips and I'll be interviewing Duncan Fegredo while he does drawing. I've done no preparation whatsoever, but Duncan has. He's had a go at drawing it already, and he's going to show you a little video now.
I am.
Is the camera up on the screen?
Yeah, we should have cloaks after that music. Cloaks or suits like the Persuaders or something. Okay, well, we're waiting for it to come
We'll
up.
wait for the camera to come up on the screen.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So basically, what I've done is, I figured we've only got an hour, and I was going to do a demo of doing one of my line and wash pieces. An hour's not a lot of time to do anything worthwhile. I could have done a headshot, but I wanted to do a little bit more than that. So I've done a drawing on my iPad Pro. The nice thing about the software I'm using Procreate is you can output video. It records everything you do, plays it back at high speed. So the half hour I spent doing this pencil rough, it's all recorded, you get to see it in a minute and a half. So it took a little longer than you get to see it now. So it's the Blue Peter what I did earlier. So you can see it's sketch based on my new sketchbook cover actually. So I don't even know more pre-preparation anyway. But lots of rough shapes, blocking out the figure, adding details as I go. Take particular note of the right leg. I draw it about 6 times in total. It shows nothing comes out right the first time, and you'll wonder why I changed it. Every single time I change it because it doesn't really change much at all. I don't notice these things while I do them. It's just, you know, it's interesting watching the playback. You realise the little strange things you do, little habits. Other little things you can do because I drew digitally originally. Well, obviously digitally. You notice the right hand I'm doing there. Quick twist there because I decided I want to change the angle of it. The rest of the time, I'm not drawing it on different layers or anything. I'm drawing it on the same piece, erasing it, and redrawing it as I go. There goes that leg again. With a hand there, I just selected it and twisted it around because I was far too lazy to change the drawing. I thought it worked perfectly well as it does. You know, it worked okay already. There's that foot. It's going to happen again. Yeah, so it's just at this point I was planning out what I was going to draw live, and then I realised, hang on, this is going well enough. Maybe I should use this, and this is why I started to refine it more and more and more as I go. I think we might nearly be there, right? Okay, that looks about done. Yeah, so there you are. That's the basic drawing I'm going to do. You can see it again if you like, or I can move on to the next bit. Move on to the next bit. Move on to the next bit. Okay, another nice feature of working digitally initially is I can plan out how I'm going to do the painting. So using the same software, Procreate, on another layer, I will, hang on a second, let me find the right place on the drawing. Okay, that's good enough. There you go. Instead of leaving it to total chance how I'm going to work with watercolour, because watercolour is fairly unforgiving. Once you put the marks down, it's hard to remove them. You can muck around with it to some degree, you can, but once you're committed, you're committed. So if I do a rough grayscale study on either in Photoshop or on the iPad using Procreate, I can plan out how the painting might go. It doesn't always. It's just a first run test. So I'll choose a light source. So I've got a flaming sword here. So unusually for me, otherwise they're not playing. Oh, there we go. I've got Hellboy backlit, and I've got a couple of light sources here. Imagine something coming down over the top of his shoulder, and it from behind, the flames behind his head. So a little bit unusual to what I do normally anyway. So that was stupid of me as well. Should have done something really obvious and straightforward to make life easy. But I'm me, so I don't do that. But there you are. It's much easier to plan things out digitally. You can work back and forth. It's interesting to see what you can come up with. I could have just as well easily have erased that layer, done it again, and tried lighting it completely differently, but as it turns out, I was perfectly happy. So now we'll move on to the real thing. So I printed that out in true Blue Peter fashion onto another bit of paper. Here's what I prepared earlier. Okay, that's good. Well, I've got the iPad version here as well, so I can actually kind of work from it. I've got some frame of reference. Normally very often when I start one of these paintings, I'll just leap in and make it up as I go along, which is not the wisest. Usually it works out pretty well, but I mean, you're leaving a lot to chance. So anyway, here we go. I'm just using really basic tools, little pot, Payne's Grey watercolour, just because it happens to like Payne's Grey. Could be any colour really. Prefer not to be black just because it looks a little bit dirty. And these really, really cheap Pentel watercolour pens, water brushes. They have their own water source inside them, come in different sizes. And I don't know, I just like them for some reason. I'm not precious about tools or anything. I like the fact that they're cheap and nasty and disposable. I don't really believe in buying really expensive sable brushes because I just know I'm going to screw them up. And I'm cheap. So there we go. Let's get started.
Right, so I'm going to talk to you now.
Yeah, you do that while I'm concentrating. I'll try and come up with rubbish to answer you with.
So I'm going to ask Duncan about his career, I suppose. From the beginning, I suppose. I've known Duncan since 1988. We both got our main break on a comic called Crisis, which was published by Freeway back then, and we were both filling in on the same story. And we met at the launch party and the comic. That was back in the days when comics had launch parties.
I didn't remember meeting you at the party. You were the arranger, weren't you?
You had long hair.
Well, I was freaking out because I was with the guy writer I was working with at the time, and just met Graham Morrison for the first time, and it was all freaky and weird and exciting, and there was drinks. So that's it. That's probably why I can't remember any of it, obviously. But yeah, back in the days when they had parties.
Yeah.
So sad.
So we've had a sort of similar career to start with. So we were both working on Crisis, and then around about the same time we both went over to DC to work for what became Vertigo. But what was your very first published thing? Was that?
First off, I got offered Kid Eternity first. Oh, do you mean before even DC or anything?
Yeah, before.
I suppose things I did illustrations in Interzones and that Heartbreak Hotel thing. I did that
Heartbreak
for
Hotel was
newspaper.
sort of like a newspaper-sized comic. Two-colour print, was it black and green? I think.
Just black. I mean, I think the later ones had a colour on the cover as well.
Yeah.
I think mine was just. I think it was just black and white. It's all I provided anyway.
No, it was back in the time when Watchmen had just come out and Dark Knight Returns, and everybody thought comics was growing up, and everyone was taking it seriously. And there was a lot of publishers starting up, trying to cash in on what they thought was a lucrative business. It didn't work out like that. So things like the Heartbreak Hotel and Crisis as well. That came about because Fleetway wanted a comic for adults, and it had New Statesman, was the story that Duncan and I both drew, which was a total rip-off of Watchmen. I think John Smith and White was just told just do your own version of Watchmen. So we got to draw superheroes,
Which is weird because we really wanted to work on 2000 AD, didn't we?
I was never that fast.
Well, you know, it wasn't what I would have preferred to be. It kind of, the weird thing for me was, I found, because we started doing, especially going from New Statesman to Third World War, it was kind of like a direct segue into doing Vertigo in its own right. It's like you're already drawing just relatively normal people in normal clothes and standing around in pubs and things. You did a lot of that in your Third World War, didn't you? Yeah. I got offered Kid Eternity first before the Third World War stuff. I mean, the Crisis stuff actually. It's like the offers 2 weeks apart or something.
Yeah.
But I figured because it's that problem because everything had gone into painted comics beforehand. It was all black and white, wasn't it? And everyone was painted comics. And that's what people.
Yeah, that's all Bisley's fault.
Basically, Bisley came along and started painting. Well, between Bisley and Dave McKean, and actually Bill Sinkovich as well, because he was doing his Electro.
Yeah. Well, this is the first painted British comics.
Yeah, definitely.
Before then, they'd always been really, really badly printed and terribly produced. So.
And Crisis was really badly printed as well, come to think of it.
Oh yeah, but they could do full colour printing.
Full colour printing on toilet
2000
paper.
at the time was still just colour cover and colour centre spread, I think, and not painted colours, just sort of flat basic comic colour.
Yeah.
So we sort of, but yeah, like Duncan said, they wanted painted artwork, so we learned on the job. Really.
Yeah, well, that's why I did the New Statesman and Third World War before. I kept on holding Kid Eternity at bay, thinking I try to learn a little bit, make all the mistakes on the Crisis stuff, and then make a whole lot more Kid Eternity. That was like 2 years of painting for me. Where I started finding I kind of just about sorted out what I was doing, like getting the basic understanding in that 2 years. That was 2 years ago from being wanted to be David McKean and then George Brown, and then never even considered what I might be. But you don't at that stage, do you? You're trying to find who you are, responding to the stuff you like. I got to the end of that and it was like, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing now.
I think when you're young and starting out, your influences are very influential.
They're fairly obvious as well. And I mean, it's why we've got on, I think, is like part of that we're both getting into things at the same time. We're responding to a lot of the same material, aren't we?
Yeah, we have a lot of similar influences. We might have interpreted in different ways.
Or we're easily led.
Yeah, especially with the painting stuff, you sort of left your own devices a little bit. When I started doing this Crisis stuff, I was following Jim Bakey. I hadn't seen Duncan stuff then. His stuff was printed before mine, but I didn't know that was going to happen. And I tried to do it like Jim Bakey did it, but he's really good at it, and I was rubbish at it.
But it was just new to you, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
and then
I
remember going into the offices and delivering my pages that week, and they had some of Duncan's pinned on the wall. He did a page in New Statesman with a carnival and horses and stuff, very sort of outstanding sort of thing. And I was like, bloody hell, that's amazing. Why is my stuff so boring and dull? I think we had quite a lot of that over the years where, not competitive as such, but
well, you get excited. It's like you encourage each other at the end of the day.
I found Duncan's not really exciting. I would like to get some of that into my work.
Yeah, I was trying to lose it. I hated what I did. But I mean, I think we have. I mean, whereas I could look at your stuff and I admired the control you had. It had clarity, and you changed completely with the last episode you did. And that was full on Sinkovich influence, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that's because the first one's been in print as well.
Yeah,
I hated the way they printed.
But it's like you were a completely different person. It was amazing.
Well, I thought, I've got to make it better. I guess I'm only going to get more work out.
There's always that thing. You always want to improve, don't you?
Yeah. I just got a mortgage then. Stephen Manners, who was the editor of Crisis in 2008 at the time, he wrote a letter saying, like, to whom it may concern, we promised to give Sean so much work this year. Please give him a mortgage, because it was really hard to get a mortgage as a self-employed person back then. It's even harder now, almost impossible now, but back then it was really hard. So I thought, well, I better make more of an effort then. Otherwise they'll change their mind.
Yes, artistic choice is influenced by economic crisis, which is always the case, really, isn't it?
So Crisis lasted about 3 or 4 years, I think, and after New Statesman, the Third World War, went on for other companies. You'd gone by then to go and do Kid Eternity, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think there was that talk, first talk at the time of the idea of us alternating on Third World War, but I was way too slow to do that anyway. Way too slow, stroke lazy, and had games to play.
And it also turned out the Third World War was really boring to draw, so it wasn't.
But that's good training as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but it's Pat Mills thing. It was all about the writing. No one really cared about the art.
It's true. Well, it's not how they sold it. It was about being politically right on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you couldn't really hold up your hands up, but you like the drawing as well. Okay, I'm just moving around this image at the moment without really. There's no logic to it at all. I'm just doing it as it occurs to me, in case you're wondering why I've gone from a head to an arm. I don't know. It was there in front of me and I could see what it was supposed to look like. I'm actually forgetting to refer to a sketch in
Any second now, Duncan will put his hand through the wet paint.
Yeah, so. we can do that on the replay as well, actually. You probably won't need to, because I'll probably do it again anyway.
Duncan's been almost totally digital for the last couple of years, and he only gets the paints out when he's doing festivals and stuff for fun.
Yeah, stuff. So that's it.
You tend to forget if you change from one to the other what the problems are with each different technique.
Like undo.
Yeah, no undo. especially watercolour, because it's transparent, you can't go and paint over it with opaque colour.
That's why it's good to plan out something a little bit beforehand. But I don't know, it's a weird thing. You did when you were younger. You didn't. I mean, did you plan stuff? You won't plan out. No, you just leap straight in there. It's almost like a bravado.
Well, that's what I was saying. That you learn to paint on the job.
Yeah. And also, you didn't know anything, but you didn't know enough to know you didn't know anything, so you did it anyway. Now you know how much you don't know.
Yeah, no,
and it makes it
you
scary.
can watch a million videos on YouTube of people painting now. Back then, that one hadn't been invented, so all you have is the printed comic to figure out how they did it, or St. Louis did it, whatever. Just before Arkham Asylum came out, I did a talk at school, and Dave was there as well, and he has some original pages from Arkham Asylum with him. And that was a massive eye-opener to see how they were done, because his stuff had a lot of collage and that, and you stick things on.
I remember seeing his page in Peppermint 1. Does anybody remember Peppermint 1? Nobody old enough for that. Just us then.
It was really nice to see original art, because you didn't really get to see it otherwise. Occasionally when I would go into the offices at 2000, I remember one time Duncan happened to both be there at the same time, and
I think it's when we first really met her.
and Tuesday was there, wasn't it?
That's
as well?
right, yeah.
And they pulled out the drawers where they kept all the artwork, and then you could have a good look at how busy he did it.
Did you see business pages out that the Crisis launch?
No.
No, I was looking through. There was a section of the stuff right in the first volume with Ucko running through the alleyways at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking through them. I was looking over I've got his name now. Let's look at that page thing again. Doesn't really matter anyway. Yeah, everybody was just freaking out over it.
Yeah.
It was exciting though. Right, I need to.
So after spending a couple of years learning how to paint, we both went off to work for what became Vertigo, doing black and white comics, having no idea how to do black and white comics. You'd actually not done any black and white comics, really.
Not really,
I'd
no.
done 10 years of drawings for Bunty and stuff, but that wasn't really suitable for Hellboy.
Well, your first one actually was. It was actually quite close.
It was very similar, yes. I had to reinvent myself, and you had to just learn how to do it.
I had to learn how to draw. I realised my first black and white, I was trying to paint sort of with lines, and also probably still influenced by other things like McKean and whoever else, which so it's all really, really scratchy artwork. So like my first black and white printed from what became Vertigo was Enigma. And it's at 8 issues, and I'm starting one style and finished in another completely.
Yeah, halfway through issue 4, you could tell it's like mature Fegredo.
I was horrified by that stage because I'd seen the first issues printed, and it was mortifying. It really was. I mean, I was doing that Vertigo tour 2 weeks going across the States, apologising for the first few issues that are just coming out and saying, "It gets better, honest."
I think you never really get over that. I mean,
You don't.
I had a new comic out last week, so I got my comic copies, and all you look at are the bits you hate. It's exciting to get it, because you think, oh, I've got a new thing out, and then you look at it and think, oh, God, why did I do it like that? And that never goes away, does it?
No, absolutely never.
I mean, even if Duncan says he really likes his paint at the end, by tomorrow you won't like it.
No. Let's just assume I'm not going to like it anyway and move on.
If anybody wants to butt in with questions or comments while I'm whittering, feel free.
Do you feel you sort of lose anything working digitally, whereas sort of live, if you like, is a bit more visceral, a bit more immediate?
I don't think you need to. You lose the tendency for accidental marks, you do. Just because a digital tool tends to act exactly the same way every time. But it doesn't mean to say that you have to draw, you just have to draw and be spontaneous in the drawing, or at least look like you're spontaneous. By which I mean I tend to like my pencil. I put a lot of work into the pencils, but try not to finish them entirely, because you're only going to be doing the same thing again in ink. If you leave them a little bit rougher and try and do still, rather than just think in terms of just inking and tracing them, you try and you're still drawing. Let things happen. I mean, it's dangerous as well, because I mean, there's a tendency for time to bleed out even more that way. But I think digital's just another tool. It's, drawing is drawing. Yeah, you can. There are.
It does free up a little bit, doesn't it? Because you haven't got that unlimited undo, so you can try stuff that you never. If you do a real painting, you think, well, I'm not going to even try that because it might not work, and if it doesn't work, it's really hard to get back to something you can work with. Whereas you could on digital paint, you can just go and paint something turquoise and see how it looks, and it doesn't work, and you take it off and paint it pink or whatever. But so I think it frees up like that.
It does. Actually, it's made me really nervous about going back and doing. I mean, I used to do a lot of full colour painting, but I've not done any for a long time. I mean, I'm not worried about the idea of doing it digitally, but because you could change things, but you used to do some crazy things in colour. When
That's a bit colourblind, right?
Well, there's that as well, but you've got to work with that. But at that stage, printer would do weird things to it anyway. By the time it's scanned,
Oh yeah.
I did that cover of Girl, the first cover of Girl, I think I did it a couple of years ago, and it was supposed to be all in. I wanted it to look kind of like a brutal fashion shoot, like a fashion shoot, with where the model was covered in bruises. It looked cold and unpleasant. By the time it got printed, it had this rosy glow over it all, and that was all real media. They had the real artwork compared to the files and everything that they made.
That's one of the best things about doing digital work is that you've got total control over how it's printed.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if I was painting covers and they had a white background like that, his Girl cover did, you have to write a note on it saying, please make sure the background prints white, because the way it's photographed, it's transparency, and then scanned and all that stuff.
Everything has a tendency to be dirty,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
so you get the control,
Yeah.
the white and the black in between. I think the contrast is more important though than
I think that's it. Actually, weirdly, I remember seeing a bit of video of Bisley being interviewed. I think it's a whole show about Bisley and Pat Mills doing Slane, I think it was. And it was paint. I can't remember what the painting was, but it was talking about using. You just basically just paint with the brightest colours you can use because it's going to dull down by the time it's printed.
you've got to make it 15% brighter than it should be.
Although with printing now, you don't really need to do that so much. I mean, you've got a greater chance of actually having things turn out, just because processes are better.
So now now you don't have to worry about that. You just worry about all the other big things you do drawing.
Yeah, like not screwing it up.
So Duncan, how come you're not doing any comics anymore?
Been, I should say, tempted by the dark side. I'm not doing comics. I'm just trying to put off doing comics just in case I can get some more.
You've got a Hellboy on the go.
I've got a Hellboy on the go. It's been on the go for a long time, and I do need to get back to doing it. I mean, it is a great deal of it underway, just not in the final artwork or anything. But things come along and distract me. Sean's alluded to doing some. I did some storyboards, and it was good fun. It's the second time I've done the storyboards. Did storyboards for Noah a few years ago, and that actually delayed me finishing Hellboy Midnight Circus, in fact, because it was just something I'd always wanted to do, and it was good fun. It was really nice doing artwork that I didn't actually have to finish. You're still essentially doing the same sorts of things. You're problem solving, storytelling issues. I mean, Sean and I both talked about this a lot. The thing we enjoy most about doing comics isn't doing the final artwork, it's planning the story out, laying it out, getting the story to flow. And that's really satisfying because in your mind it's finished then, isn't it?
Yeah. Then you've got to draw the bloody thing up.
Which is a grind. It's every now and then you could be drawing something and you can be really pleased with it. Think this is good fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often though, does it?
No, not even every page. No.
And that's from you. You're really optimistic about these things.
Yeah.
Mr. Doom and Gloom.
It's much different. Doing stuff like this, sketching. You can tell he's really enjoying doing it, even though you are watching him.
Don't draw attention to it, then, otherwise it'll stop.
It's fun because it's not.
Well, it helps that nothing's riding on it apart from my own.
He's got no editor to say, can you please do that again? Can you change it?
But these days I get all arsy about it anyway. I'll just say, how dare you? So yeah, storyboarding, big fun. Going back to comics afterwards, pulling teeth. And I'm in that case I'm referring to doing Midnight Circus. I mean, it's one of the books I'm most pleased with, especially for all the Hellboy work. It's the one that's most like me. It's got more of my painted work in it, so I've got that one step away from where I'm sort of emulating to some extent what Mike does over my own style. So with the watercolour stuff, it's definitely, I put my stamp on that area in Hellboy. And Mike likes it as well, which is nice. He got a little bit more distance, but I don't know, it was fun. But anyway, before it was fun, it was a nightmare doing it again. Making finished art after 20 weeks of doing rough little pen and ink drawings and getting quite nicely paid for it as well. It was not easy. And I think it's probably why I'm finding it difficult to go back to doing comics again right now, honestly.
And also for the Hellboy thing you're doing now, you've done the interesting bit.
Well, I've done half of the interesting bit
You've done that
anyway.
bit.
Yeah.
You've done all the bit that we like doing.
Yeah, I've got to do final design work and stuff like that. And I don't know. I'll get back to it.
So this Hellboy one you're doing at the moment, is it the only one that you've worked from that type of script? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's story's called, I think I mentioned it was before, it's called Miss Maitland's Devil, and Mike Rhodes last year gave me the script actually, and it's only 8 pages, and so it's an 8-page synopsis. I said, well, you flesh it out into 50 pages. Now, I've not really done that before. It's kind of Marvel style, really, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I should have thought
back in the day when Marvel started in the 60s, I don't know if everybody noticed, the writer would just give the artist plot saying, why don't we do this issue? It would be up to the artist, especially Kirby, to go and break it down into pictures and pages and make it into a comic. And since then, the other way of doing it is to use script, which is more like a play, where it's broken. The writer breaks it down into pictures, individual frames, and you just sort of follow his instructions a little bit. You don't really get anything in between that. It's either or. But so Duncan's been doing it more like the Marvel style. Right?
Yeah, which worked fine for the first half of it.
And he's also been doing it for a very, very picky particular writer.
Yeah, Mike is. I think he'd admit he's a control freak, or he's got. To be fair, he's got very specific ideas about what he likes. I mean, he was like this all the way through doing Hellboy anyway. There'd always be at least one page in an issue where we'd have a sticking point of where he'd like, yeah, I kind of like that, but I imagined it more like this. I mean, for the first few books, he was actually providing little thumbnails for me to work from anyway.
It's the same with his own work, isn't he? He tends to draw stuff a hell of a lot and change his mind.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he writes visually, he writes with thumbnails. So he was doing that for me, even though he wasn't going to be drawing it. And when he was obviously getting a little bit concerned about being a bit too controlling over it. He said, okay, this is working now, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm not going to give you the thumbnails anymore. I get 1 or 2 every now and then, but like I said, there'd always be a sticking page where he'd had a really specific idea in mind, and you could tell from the script anyway, because he's like, I'm not going to draw it for you, but I'm going to describe the hell out of the layout as well. And that was fine. I didn't mind that. So, I mean, I think in one of the library editions, actually, there is a few pages reproduced from Mike's script to the finished art of one page in particular. I mean, it's far from the only time it ever happened. There are numerous versions of the same sequence again and again and again. I actually made him draw it for me in the end, because it's wasted so much time on doing all these detailed little thumbnails, or not thumbnails, like rough drawings, printed size, changing things incrementally. And it was dumb. It's like, you're making me redraw this all the time, and editor wasn't doing anything useful either. So he went away, redrew it, or drew it out for me, and I traced it, essentially, because it was the only way. It's the only way I was going to get it right, but I traced it and still wanted to change something, because that's what I do, because I'm an awkward git. So yeah, that's the way it goes, really. So the idea of Mike handing off to that degree where I'm controlling the writing as well is inevitably going to be right.
Is that the first time he's done it for anybody?
I think he's done it with Gary Gianni as well. Gary Gianni's doing a book in a similar fashion to Midnight Circus at the moment, and I don't know how that's gone. I'm sure it'll be very interesting. Yeah, I mean, it worked. Like I said, it worked okay for the first half, but the second half I kind of redrawn twice already. And the problem is, I was enjoying it too much and taking a certain amount of license and fleshing things out with stuff of my own as well. And I don't think Mike was very keen on that. So the second half is yet to be resolved. Mike's actually since gone back and rewritten the second half with more clarity. And there's a lot of stuff in it that wasn't in the first time around anyway, so there's no way in hell I was going to come up with this stuff. So I've not gone back to it since. We'll see. I'm sure it'll turn out fine in the end. Just a few teething problems. Here we go, I've got paint in the hand already.
25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Has anybody got any questions? Has anyone got an
If
hour?
it's such hard work finishing it, is there anyone you would hand it over to after the...
Oh Christ,
God,
no.
that's it. We have
Do you remember that control thing we control?
We have done it together before with inked each other's pencils.
That was weird in itself, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because we thought, because we did have the same influence, there was a time years ago we were using the same tools, we used the same pens and stuff.
Same magic pen.
Same magic pen, yeah. But so we thought it'd be okay, but I don't know. I liked inking Duncan stuff. I don't need anybody else very often. I've done it about 3 times maybe in the last 25 years. But I found it really interesting that you essentially found it hard to decipher what I wanted.
Oh no, not on the actually the one I was just thinking of the Kid Eternity short story when we swapped over halfway through.
Oh yeah, we did the Kid Eternity short story where it was, I think it's like an 8 or 9 page and we penciled half of it each and then swapped pages and linked each other's pages.
I think on that I took more license, I did.
Yeah.
And
which that was a long time ago where you didn't know what you were doing.
I didn't have a clue.
But recently, well, I say recently, probably 10 or 15 years ago, we did an X-Men comic together, Mark Millar wrote, and I penciled that. I didn't have time to ink it. I thought, well, if I'm going to have to give half the money to somebody, because when I got asked to do it, Mark was like, oh, it's going to be great, we're going to make loads of money, this is X-Men #1. Didn't happen. So if I've got to share,
the X-Men #1.
I've got to share half the money with someone, I might as well share it with someone who I like and know, so I asked Duncan if he'd like to do it as well.
Unfortunately, apart from not being a great inker really anyway, I was also down with some hideous cold. So
That's just an excuse.
it's an excuse, but it's not an excuse. I mean, it's like my normal lack of decisiveness was just like ramped up to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And that's when I had problems with it, because that's when you were doing it, you're doing the style that Jim Lee ripped off a lot. You know, when you had all your pencil, because you weren't spotting the blacks, it was all very, very fractured on the page. And I almost couldn't see what it's like until I'd actually finished inking it.
You tend to stop using too much pencil, making the pages all dirty. You draw your outline of something and put an X in it, and that means fill it in with black. So I did that. I didn't actually fill the black in with a pencil. So I knew what it's meant to look like because it's in my head, but Duncan couldn't.
But you'd come up with a style at that point because when you were shooting a lot of reference of yourself, you were breaking the way you were breaking down the blacks.
I took like 200 photos of myself in my pants for that.
See, if it provided me with a photo reference as well, then I wouldn't know what page we were on.
Back in the day, it used to be really embarrassing before digital cameras, when they have to go to like the 1 hour photo processing place and drop it, and they're like, these photos. It was okay once I explained that I was doing.
Didn't you have to act out 3-way sex scene for one of them? It was in
The
Eternal.
Yeah, I did a book called Hell Eternal, and it was this neo-Nazi lesbian love triangle. It's two women and a guy, and I modelled for the man, and my wife's 2 best-looking friends, my wife was modelling for me, her 2 best-looking friends modelled for the other characters. I thought, well, might as well make it an enjoyable experience.
It just made it more mortifying, didn't it?
Yeah, it was so embarrassing. And there's one bit where one of the characters had the 2 women that modelled for me. One of them didn't read the script and just turned up and was sort of like a puppet, and I just sort of pushed and pulled at her until she got into the poster. But the other one had read the script and she comes along and she thinks, well, in this scene the character will be wearing this outfit and stuff like that. She's really into it. And there's one bit where that character had to have a tattoo on her arse. So her husband played the tattoo artist because she wasn't going to let me do that. But even so, she was still really nervous about it. And she'd been dieting for a couple of weeks. She'd been to the gym loads. You know, she was only like 30 or something. She was a fit woman. So she didn't need to worry about it. But because she was going to be having a photo taken with hardly any clothes on, she got really worried about it. It's weird. I don't do that anymore. For some reason, my wife ran that thing. I'd say I still take photographs for everything, all my stuff. Even apart from the superhero stuff, I don't usually bother because it's obviously I haven't got the body of a superhero. But you never take photos, do you?
I was right back at the beginning when I was doing Kid Eternity, and you would have been doing. I don't know. It's one where you tried using video cameras. That's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah. So having a video of yourself in a pose and pausing it and trying to draw it on the screen.
Never lasts very long at all, does it?
The pause goes on.
You're forever trying to find back to the right frame and everything, and it's just not worth it. That's as far as I ever got, really. I got my brother to pose for a pair of hands from once for a cover of Lucifer. I just make everything up. It's.
But you can talk in front of the mirror and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a mirror in the corner of my studio forever. It's a mirror I picked up in Leeds, a wardrobe mirror, but it's a junk shop. And it's still in my studio now. I don't refer to it quite so often, just because I think a lot of the information that I might have needed once before is kind of lodged in my mind now anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'll act stuff out in front of it, or if I get stuck, I'll
For the benefit of the window cleaner.
The worst one I had like that actually is when I was doing those blammy pictures years ago. It's two girls in action poses, like looking like fashion models with guns in their hands. And we had central heating in the house, and the plumber was constantly going back and forth across my studio window. As he'd look in, I'm wondering about striking this pose now. Imagine if you would. So 3/4 view of me sticking my bottom out towards the mirror and yes, jutting my hips in a provocative manner. I think that's more than you need to know. But it was definitely more than this plumber needed to know. He got to the end of the week and he came in and looked at paintings that were finished by that point on the board. He's like, that's what you were doing. How the hell did you get that from you? And I'm thinking, like, yeah, thanks. I know I'm not a pretty young girl.
Sean?
Yes.
Question back here.
There's no point having any shame in this business.
Someone calling me.
By the way, quick question. When it comes to digital painting, how exactly do you get the layers to go right? So I've practiced and all that, but I just can't seem to get it right. I can do the line art, but it's when it comes to actually putting on top of the line art, the layers and all, to get it to appear right.
How do you mean appear up? Do you mean so that you can still see the line work?
Oh, is this in Photoshop?
So you can see some of it, but you can also see, so you can get the outline right, so it just doesn't look a bit off.
So you want the outline to be on top, preferably. It doesn't really matter. Well, it depends how you're working actually. But if you have your outline on top, if you want a black line on it all the way, you make it a transparent layer, make it multiply layer, so it sits on top, and then anything you do underneath, the line work will stay on top of it. Does that answer? It's well worth just looking through YouTube for any of these sorts of things. There are a bazillion how-tos on how to colour comics and work digitally on there, which probably I should get around to looking at sometime. Well, digital knowledge is basically.
You never actually watch.
That's right, I do. I've got lots of how-to videos, but as you said, I never get around to watching them. I get about 2 minutes into them and get excited and go off and make it up all over again because I'm a fool that way.
Not much over there.
After drawing so many characters for other people, does it ever give you an original idea for a character of your own?
I don't really, it makes me want to do my own rather, just so that, purely financial reasons as much as anything else, because you can pour yourself into somebody else's work. And I was really happy to do that with Hellboy because I was a huge fan anyway. But at the end of the day, it is always going to be, it's still not yours. So from that point of view, yes. From the point of view of actually getting around to getting up off my ass and writing something, yeah, that's still waiting to happen. I mean, I still talk about the idea of doing it. It'll happen sometime, I'm sure. But I think I'll have to be, I don't know, wait for that big moment where I get wonderfully financially secure so I can sit back and play all the games that sate my lust for games and say, right, now let's do something. And not have to worry about any financial repercussions of making an absolute disaster. These things never actually happen, of course, do they?
No.
So meanwhile, eventually, I'm sure I will. It might be a case of working with a writer where we share something. I mean, it's why I did MPH, honestly. It was a chance to actually own something again. I mean, we thought we owned stuff back in the day for Vertigo, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was bollocks.
They say you own it, but they can still do whatever they like.
Absolutely.
Is there any characters you've not worked on that you'd love to work on?
Really, honestly, I always say that it's like if I've got to draw a character that's not something I'm going to own or anything, I'm better off going back to Hellboy because after all I've gone through with it and all the trials and tribulations of working on it, it's still the thing that I actually care about. And, you know, I still, you know, even having worked with Mike and everything went through doing it, it's an artist I've got a lot of respect for. I'm very much working for Mike rather than working for Dark Horse in my own mind there.
There is always quite an element of nostalgia for comic artists. You know, most of us grew up reading comics, so it is a thrill to get to draw something that you loved when you was a kid.
But I mean, I remember doing.
You only have to draw it once, and that's
Yeah.
scratch that itch. You don't need to do it again.
I mean, as a kid, I would have loved to have drawn Spider-Man, and I got to do a tiny bit of Spider-Man, just enough to let me know that I don't really want to do it at all. And the Spider-Mans that I did, Spider-Man was barely in it at all, which was kind of perfect. What else did I did a one-shot with Steve Niles called Good Monsters, and I got to draw the Thing and the Hulk. And I tried to give the whole thing a little bit of a Kirby feel, like I was doing one shot of Thing Fang Flume in there and a bunch of other monsters. And it's enough. I don't need to do them again. I can get nostalgic about these things, but I don't really need to go back and look at those things either. Because I know that on some level I'm going to be disappointed. It's not going to be, it's not going to be as good as I remember it anyway. Yeah, I've got no great desire. I've got no huge urge to draw Batman.
Done it.
Have you barely? I mean, he appeared in a couple of.
We are drawing
stories.
Batman later on stage, another live draw, so you've got to get your enthusiasm up.
Yeah. I love Batman, I just remembered. He's my fave. I always wanted to work on him, and now's my chance to prove my worth and be discovered for the first time. I'm not sure if it's. Yeah, I mean, the idea of if someone said, would you like to draw the X-Men? Hell no. That looks like far too much work. All those stupid characters, too many costumes.
Solo books are much better.
Yeah. And MPH is a superhero use I want to get, really. I mean, there's no costumes in it. It's just a bunch of kids in baggy clothing. Great. I'm happy. That's my thing. That's my draw. Crumpled t-shirts, all the better. Spandex, no. And hell, I mean, I drew that Ultimate Adventure series, and I got to draw some of the Ultimates now. I'm trying to work out Iron Man. What a pain in the ass. I think they brought an action figures straight after I'd done that little bit, and it's like, yeah, that would have made life a lot easier. I've got no desire to draw that sort of thing at all, really haven't. But whatever job you do, ultimately comes down to the same thing. It's drawing and problem solving, storytelling. There's not that much difference between things, really, is there?
No, I mean, you tend to look at it at a very sort of macro level. It's that particular draw, that particular hand you're drawing, or that particular car or whatever. One small picture. The bigger picture doesn't really.
The bigger
matter that
picture
much.
scares you because you've got all the blank pages to fill up.
Yeah, you can't think about the whole thing because you never get anything done. Every time I get a new script, it's like, God, how the hell am I going to draw that? That's going to be impossible. And then you sort of read it again and you start breaking it down, and that sort of happens. But it's always scary at the beginning.
It is. You compartmentalise it a little bit more, don't you?
Yeah.
Or you go and switch on the.
Yeah, you make it for smaller manageable chunks.
Sure.
So we've got about 5 to 10 minutes left. Do you think you can finish?
It depends what you mean by finish.
When do you think you have finished?
When do I think I finished?
How do you know it's finished?
Well, I don't hate it as much as I did at the midpoint. It is largely a case of like, can I live with that? I don't know. I think it just feels balanced. It's that thing when you walk back into the room and you're not seen it for a bit, nothing shouts off the board at you and says, you've not done me yet. Although normally you only notice those things when they're in print as well, don't you? I'm sure you've done that. Yeah. It's unfinished to the same degree all over at the moment, so that's nice. Let's give it a bit more weight on his face, actually.
There's going to be like artistic rules where you have one focal point in the painting. So usually on something like this would be his face.
So I thought I'd go back.
That's meant to be the detailed finished piece, and the rest of it is much more loosely indicated. But you only tend to remember that when you've overworked the whole thing at the end.
Sean speaks the truth here.
In terms of that distance and that working through the process, when it comes to getting a script, do you kind of take a day or so to process it, or do you start drawing and thumbnailing pretty much straight away, or do you kind of process the script first in your head?
I've done it both ways before, really. If I'm really enjoying a script, it's really hard not to. The best place for me to go and read a script is run a bath and read it there, because it means I can't start drawing straight away. Because I have done in the past, I'm sure you've done this, where you've been reading something, you get an idea for something immediately and you start scribbling it on the script as you're reading it, which is a really bad idea. You should at least get through the script once before you start doing that, really. But
Oh, yeah, but you have the luxury usually of the whole script.
oh, yeah, that's true. Sean's
I've been
always...
working
yeah.
for 15 years now, and I've never ever had a whole episode in one go. It's always a few pages at a time. I think maybe the first issue of Sleep All Night got the whole script because that was a brand new thing. But
That's a long time ago.
the stuff I'm doing now with we've got a new book out, and even the first issue of that, I think I've got the first 7 pages maybe in a chunk, and then the next week I'll get another chunk. He's a busy man, he's writing TV and films and stuff, so it would be nice, but the luxury of having the whole thing, especially if it's a self-contained story, you've got the end when you, as well as the beginning, would be really nice. Like you get that.
I've always had that with Mike, yeah.
Because it's always really hard to know what's important to draw. You might spend ages designing an apartment or something, which I've just done. I've just got someone to build me a 3D model of New York apartments. I assume I'm going to be drawing it a lot more often.
But now you're going to discover it's never going to happen again.
But since he's built the model, I haven't drawn it since, because that issue he wasn't there. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it'll come back. But it'd be nice to know, to have the whole thing, so you know what you're building towards. And if a character's going to appear more than once, you might spend a whole half day designing their hairstyle, and you think they're quite important. They get killed on the next page.
That's kind of good in a way as well, because it means that's if someone's actually seen through what you're doing, and you can tell which characters are more important because they've got more design to them. Do you think they're going to live? And if it looks like you've actually put more into something, like
I never know if they're going to live, because Ed never tells me what's going to happen in the stories. I don't want to know.
No, I never want to know. I mean, I need to know broad, but I mean, Mike likes to tell you the whole story, and I'm like, I don't want to know anymore. I want to be excited by it. I won't be surprised.
Last year I did a thing called The Fade Out, which the murder mystery was part of it. I had no idea who the murderer was until the last episode. I had some ideas about who it might be, I was wrong. But it didn't matter. It was, it wasn't important for me to know that to be able to tell a story. Otherwise I might have drawn them twirling their moustache or something.
I was going to say, yeah, because that's what you would do, isn't it? Yeah.
No, as far as
would you have done it any differently? Is there anything you would have done?
No, I don't think so. Because the character it ended up being, I had spent quite a lot of time getting it right. And that was just because I thought I needed to. It wasn't.
Yeah.
You like to think that you spend as much effort on all of it, but you don't, because
there's always stuff that's
comics have to come out as quick as possible. There's never enough time. There's never enough money. You're never that invested. Oh, that's not much art.
When you finish the project and you get your comics or graphic novels, do you read them properly or do you just look at the pictures?
I just look at the pictures.
You've spent enough time on that damn script already, haven't you?
Sometimes. I mean, the Fade Out hardcover came out this week, so I got all my copies of that, and I actually did sit down and read that in one go. It was nice, but mostly I was just looking for mistakes that we didn't catch the last 15 times we looked at it.
Actually, you don't normally need to look that hard, do you? They leap off the page at you when you spot anything.
I mean, we did a criminal hardcover a couple of years ago, and there was like 6 photos missing.
Oh, wow.
The balloons were there, but the text wasn't there. And we'd gone through the files and read it, we were up in our editor and the proofreader, and nobody caught it until we printed 10,000 copies of it.
Did anybody call you on it afterwards?
Yeah, we got a lovely video on Amazon saying, don't buy this book, wait for the reprint, but there's never going to be a reprint if we don't sell the first 10,000 copies. I did let them in the balloons at a couple of cons where people have brought them over to me, but you can get sort of the gist of it, you don't really need it.
That's what the pictures are for, isn't it?
No,
It's
it's
just a
I think it's
superb.
4 or 5 balloons in the whole 300-page story, so, And if I draw it write it by hand, it's not going to look like that. It's going to look like,
Defaced.
insane stories. Yeah, it's defaced.
Yeah. It's not going to be worth market value anymore, at least.
No.
Because these things must.
Speaking of Amazon, I did get a really good review of something. I can't remember which book it was, but said, this is a great graphic novel, really good. It's too many pictures. We have to go back and find out which book it was, because then we can put it on the back cover when we go back to press.
You prefer having a deadline?
Oh God, yeah, I was looking at him done.
I don't believe in deadlines. It's a myth and rumour. Certainly,
Ed doesn't believe in deadlines, but I do.
Well, at least one of you does.
Yeah.
My editors do. Fools.
Sometimes I think it'd be nice to do it like the French do it. They do one 48-page album every couple of years, just so you can spend a week or two on a page. Because then I think it'd be a really good page, but then if I actually did it, it turned out to be no better than the ones I spent a day on. It'd be quite disappointing. So I think deadlines are good.
Yeah, things don't necessarily get any better.
As long as
Just
it's
spend more
not very
time.
realistic. I mean, I'm pretty quick. I can easily do a comic in a month. Duncan's really slow. You can't do a comic. So
I could do if I didn't do anything else, I'm sure, but
Oh, that's true. I mean, it's not your stuff. It's just you get distracted.
I get distracted very easily, and I prevaricate a lot, and I don't want to.
But like, so the traditional monthly deadline of comics isn't really applicable nowadays.
Well, you're one of the few guys who could actually do it, I think.
Yeah, but you know,
You and
most
Charlie.
comic art's a lot more detailed and complicated than it used to be even back in like the 70s or 80s. So that monthly grind does turn into a grind. It would be much better if publishers didn't stick to that.
But it's just that old financial model, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd rather go straight into doing graphic novels and not give any serialised installments of it. But I'll start that in the meantime. Black and white. Anybody else? No, good. Right, we've got 5 minutes to go. So Duncan, it's your turn to talk.
My turn to, I'm not doing anything else, am I? No. Okay, what am I doing?
What do you mean? I've got the hard bit.
You got Okay, what are we going to talk about? Okay, well, I could talk about where I'm up to with this, and I'm looking at it and doing damage control, looking at all the stuff I've really not done or touched yet at all. So it's like trying to finish things to a level that looks acceptable, really.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm probably better off just doing a bit more work up here, actually, I think.
No, you spoil it now. Not sure about the hit, we'll stop on it though.
Thank you. So I expect these things to be all right, I don't expect from you.
Diane, have you got any comments on it?
Yes. Paint fast enough, cheers.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like taking away and then coming back to
See, that's why I can't get things done. I have to step away.
Yeah.
Stepping away because I'm balanced.
Yeah, but you step away and then sit in front of the PlayStation.
Yeah.
You have to do that to let the paint dry.
Thank you. And I will be reminding you that you said that.
That's it. I mean, sorry, I'm not sure, but actually, it's that whatever medium you're using, something like using watercolor, you've got to do that sort of let it dry. I mean, that's part of the process. So you've actually got to build that into your schedule. You can't say, oh my God, I've got to
And also, you've got to
So we're finishing this tomorrow.
step
then?
away and come back later and look at it, like Duncan says, and see it with fresher eyes.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody works, I'm sure you've all used that technique of like try and look at it in a different way, looking at the artwork in the mirror, turning it upside down. Upside down is good actually. That tells you whether you've got a sense of gravity. If it looks like things are falling upwards, that's a good sign. Then if you've turned it up the wrong way. I haven't done anything like this for years actually. I looked in the mirror for a bit of work for the first time the other day actually. I forgot about this technique. I used to do it all the time. Like, I always had a mirror next to me while I was painting anyway. But just
It's harder now. We both drawn Sultanas.
That's true. I've got a mirror. I've got one of those security mirrors above my desk
If you
now.
draw digitally, you just flop the image anyway on the screen.
Well, that's true.
But you never think about that until it's too late.
Too late. Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe it's just the experience thing. You just
Because
see
when I
these
do
things.
any drawing and I'm not very pleased with it, I just hope that no one else notices.
I deleted and started
It
again.
used to be when we back in the day, you'd stick it in the FedEx box and send it off to New York and hope they didn't notice. It was too late to change it.
What do you used to say? It doesn't matter. There's another one on the shelf next month.
That's it. Yeah, they were disposable comics, weren't they? Yeah, it gets replaced by a better one hopefully next month. But now everything comes back to haunt you.
Yeah. God, your mistakes really do come back to haunt you as well. They keep things in print, and that's horrific.
Yeah. And I just had my Hellboy stuff put into trades last year. It was 20 years old, and I thought I'd never have to see it again. And it came back. Now, on one hand, it's good that it's back in print and people can read it, and I might make some money out of it.
Yeah, you weren't moaning about them not being printed before that. They were.
But then you just see, sometimes it's like, oh God, that's really bad. But then, especially like for like the paint closet and others, I think, God, I can't paint like that anymore. I want to
There's a lot of nice stuff in those lasers. This is the trouble, it's always the same with your old work, and it's like, and it's hard because people love it. They don't see it the same way as you do. It's hard to.
Everyone else's work always
Yeah.
looks effortless, whereas your own work, you know that you've struggled over it.
Yeah, you just see the mistakes you do.
Yeah.
How do you feel about when somebody comes to you at conventions and they've got big mistakes?
Did you repeat the question, please?
Sorry, I said, how do you feel when people come to the two artists with a copy of New Statesman? Going back to
Which we
what
did,
they-
yeah, we did,
Yeah.
we did New Statesman in 1988, 89 sort of thing, and it's not in print anymore, but yeah, we do get the odd one to sign occasionally.
Every now and then, it's always horrific.
Well, the worst thing is when they said, "Oh, I really liked this when I was a kid."
Yeah, it does it to me when you've
it's
got a
not
work
work, it's the fact
inspired.
that it reminds you how old you are.
Yeah, that's inevitable, isn't it? Yeah, it's the hard thing is not to do, not to express how you really feel about it. The gracious thing would be to say, "I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks very much." But
Yeah, they
my
don't-
face
they-
is it all.
Yeah,
It's
they
got
don't
revulsion.
want to hear you rip it apart.
Yeah. Oh, this was all shit. I burnt the artwork for this. I did. I told that story at the first Thought Bubble. So Peter's interview. Oh yeah, okay. Another convention in the north, and not like this fine festival. I described getting the artwork back for New Statesman, and I was so appalled by it. I just stored it away initially, and went through a big clearing out lots of old irrelevant college work and stuff, and had a cathartic burn in the garden, and it was really satisfying. Didn't actually burn the New Statesman artwork then because it was too much fit in our little chimenea. We got father-in-law to put it on his bonfire, and Stewie did the right thing. So I told the story, and there was an order the audience.
Terrible.
Yeah, no, it made me feel better, and I really didn't care about it.
I've still got everything I ever drew.
Well, that's
I have
nice.
sold, I've
Yeah.
got stuff that I drew when I was 10 or whatever, I kept all the college work. No, because when they make a museum in my name, so I'm doing it,
We see our work in very different ways.
Right, we're finished now. The little signs come out saying we've got to stop now.
Oh, right.
So
it's officially
any
finished.
last comments, Duncan? On
Yep, sorry it's not finished properly and couldn't do better. It's come out all right after considering it. Honestly, I've not done the thing I should have done. I'm looking back and step back and have a look at it. Have I? That bit of line there is not right, is it? It's never finished. Back a little bit there. Screw it, that'll do. There you are, that's when you know it's finished.
So thank you for turning up and doing work and talking at the same time, which is great. And thanks to all of you for coming.
Yeah, cheers.
Apparently we're signing downstairs afterwards, so we're going to be let out. You can follow us if you like. It's going to be right at the bottom here. There's out the door and there's a room somewhere. Everybody wants to sign. Okay, thank you.